Right, this is a crash course episode 9 where I take a look at your fails and bails that you send in via the uploader. We're sometimes using the Dirt Shed show to show off your amazing sends and sometimes massive crashes. Sometimes I take a look to see if there's anything really obvious that you could do differently or skills that you could improve so that you stop falling off. Also, keep your eyes peeled for the end of this video where there's an unfortunate incident with wildlife that leads to quite a nasty injury. Right, first video comes from Richard riding his Nukeproof Mega, and he says the front wheel washed out on flat white trail on Gulfy in Innerleithen. That's a bit of a legendary trail, that one. So the old front wheel washout, I reckon that is the cause for most bike crashes. What are we saying? 90%? Maybe not, it's quite high, but yeah, front wheel washout can be caused by a lot of different reasons. You know, it's really a case, of course, of the front wheel sliding, so losing grip somehow, either by going too fast, riding into some terrain that isn't very grippy. And in this case, Richard, it looks like your front wheel just catches the edge of the rut. It's almost like a camber where the sort of trail splits a little bit, or there's different lines. Your front wheel just hits that camber and it looks quite loose as big stones, so it just slides. You know, this is the sort of thing that isn't always avoidable, but trying to pick your line so that you're not sort of riding almost like a route. You know, when you're going diagonally across a route or a camber, it's really easy to slide off. So try and hit it with a bit more sort of momentum to go across that into the camber a bit more. So there's less chance of it slipping, there's more pressure on your front tire, but that isn't always possible because of your line before there. So in that case, there might be a way of just unweighting to get over that camber where it looks like you're probably going to slide even if you slow down because it's just a bit loose. So, you know, really down to line choice, maybe weighting and unweighting, and hopefully that'll keep that front wheel gripping. Right, this one comes sent in from Jordan, riding Starling Swoop at Lagan in Scotland again. Riding some stuff opposite the trail centre. My mate Chris going over the bars on a wet, steep rock roll into a berm. So it looks to me like there's pretty decent technique actually. Chris looks like he's, you know, nicely to the back of the bike on that steep section. And it does look pretty slippy. And then at the bottom, obviously you see where he goes, he sort of just goes straight into that berm. And actually, if you pause it, go back, pause it, you can see like a puff of dust as that front tire has like ripped off the rim and just burped. So what I would say is, I'll take a look at your tire pressures, because there might be a case of, yes, like lower pressures might give you a bit more grip, but I've said this a few times actually, like if you go too low, they can catch you out when it really matters. When for some reason you're offline or you make a little mistake and your front tire is hitting, you know, getting an impact, or you're twisting it really hard, and then it's just going to give way, it's going to burp like that, and that can cause the crash more than anything. You can see how the bars actually rip out of Chris's hand. So yes, he does sort of slam into like quite a hard edge of that berm, so that there's likely to be a lot of force anyway, but that tyre isn't going to help. So potentially go up a little bit of pressure on that front tyre. And this is definitely a case of trying to commit to the corner. Yes, it's like a gnarly, steep roll in, but actually, as you can see, what's really going to cause the crashes is probably the bottom of that bit where you've got to do something. So it's trying to commit to that corner, even though there's a scary steep bit beforehand. And this is quite a good example, actually. It's quite loose. Well, it's very loose, actually. And it's not as steep as that one we've just shown that Chris is riding in Lagan. But it's definitely a case of my weight's got to be over here. I've got to be cornering. That's more important than getting down this steep stuff well. So even on, you know, the start of the steep bit, I'm definitely committing to the corner. And it's quite a scary thing to do because you're thinking about this steep bit here, but actually you've got to think about making it at the exit of that thing. Actually, that theme of commitment continues. Now, I think quite a few people watching this video will recognise this bit of trail. I know it well. This is Mark riding in Whistler, riding Original Sin. This is that horrible sort of steep rock slab into a flat, gravelly, not gravelly, but like loose dirt corner at the bottom. So you go from steep rock to dirt. And again, it's sort of, it's scary. You're more worried about getting down this steep rock bit, but actually it's the corner at the bottom that catches more people out. And that happens with Mark, who says actually that he was on vacation in Whistler. He's from Ontario, where his trails are all flat and not technical at all. And he says, one could say too much front brake, no injuries, just a bruised ego. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people, myself included, that have I fallen off there? Maybe not fallen off, but I felt like it's going to happen. So yes, it's again, you're sort of dropping into that rock section and you're just trying to slow down as much as you can. and realizing that when you hit the dirt at the bottom, you've just got to come off the brakes, because if you stay on the brakes on that gravelly loose corner, you're just going to slide out, as Mark does. So yes, as much brakes as you can to keep the tires rolling but not locking up on the rock. But as soon as you get halfway down, you've got to look to the corner and know when you've just got to come off the brakes. Even if it feels scary and that you might not make it, you've still got a better chance of making that corner if you come off the brakes. The winner of the most spectacular and probably scariest crash this week is this one from Julian, riding in Tuggeranong Pines, Canberra. So yeah, massive buckaroo. You can see all the weight is going way up over the bars. So the bike is super nosediving. Also a bit slow as well. So it's just a case of really misjudging the speed, but also the takeoff, because you need to get that pop. So obviously you don't get bucked too much. Buck can be caused by quite a few things. Maybe if the takeoff's steeper than you realise and it just almost slows the bike down, especially on a full suspension bike, it just starts sending the weight forward. So in this case, you've just got it so wrong, you've got to bail, which you can see Julian tries, but he's clipped in. Now, I'm no expert on doing this with clips. When I learned to jump back in the day, I learned to bail as well by just ditching the bike underneath me, but I've always did it on flat pedals. So I guess it's a case of learning how to unclip both and still ditch the bike underneath you. And you'd be surprised actually how much you can get away with. If you've got the jump wrong, you misjudge the speed and you just jump over the bars, sometimes you can just slide down the back side of the jump, sort of on your side, and the bike might get a bit damaged, so it'll go in the middle of the jump. But with clips and just ditching the bars like that, oh man, it's dangerous. Hopefully you got away with it, Julian. This one comes from Dara, who's riding the Gap Bike Park, Dublin, Ireland. At first glance, this looks like a kind of a weird crash, because Dara just lets go of the bars coming into a jump and has a big crash and falls off and fractures his coccyx. That sounds like a pain in the ass. But you know, actually Dara says, a dragonfly got stuck in my helmet and I instinctively reached up to my face, causing a big crash. Yeah, I don't know how you could have avoided that other than just keeping your hands on the bars and just, don't know, deal with it. Incidentally, I once got a wasp up my trouser leg when I was riding my motorbike. That wasn't very nice, just had to keep riding whilst it stung me. So yeah, anyone got any other wildlife-induced crash stories or videos? Better send them into our uploader. If not, just leave the stories down below and we'll read them and have a good laugh. Hopefully they're not too bad. Thanks for watching this episode of Crash Course. Obviously you can check out our fails of the day over on our Instagram, or check out the Dirt Shed Show for more fails, bails, and sometimes ascends.